Hi, I'm Kate Coda, and welcome to my basically retired booktube, but not anymore, because it's time to talk about the Percy Jackson TV show. So, I've been waiting like 15 years for this show, and I'm so excited. And I know this video is late, but the truth is I already filmed it, and then because of my lack of technical prowess, the video kind of got lost, so we're gonna have to re-video it, but that's okay. We can do that. So, the first two episodes, they were very interesting. They definitely made some changes, but for the most part, I don't hate them. There were a few things that I found a little awkward. And by few, I mean mostly the Minotaur fight. And when I say that, I mean mostly that random, 2 minutes where they're just standing there and talking. And you're just sitting there, did the Minotaur take a drink break? Did he need some water? What's going on? Because I swear that he should have taken less time to get over there and attack them, and they should have, kept running. And instead, they just stop. And they just talk. And I know that a lot of it is, emotional talk, or, explaining the situation, but it felt really awkward. But to be fair, I would say that's the only part of the first two episodes that I felt didn't work. Because, yeah, it felt like they needed the exposition so badly that they put it in, the worst spot they could put it. Because I understand that if they'd put all the exposition that they needed in episode 2, it would have felt, incredibly exposition heavy. And so they moved some of it into episode 1. And I think for the most part, they did a good job on that. But it just felt like the stuff that they had to do exposition for in the Minotaur fight scene felt wrong. Especially because in that scene in the books, it's they don't have time to tell Percy things because they don't have time. And so they keep running and running and they don't make it there in time. But they try their best. Whereas here, it felt like they could have made it over, and they didn't, because they stopped. Now, the other thing is, the only thing that kind of makes this work is the fact that because Sally's immortal, she says she can't go into Camp Half-Blood. My problem with that is that's not true. She can go over she can go over the border into Camp Half-Blood, but she can only go if she's given permission by someone in the camp. And she could have been given permission, because Grover was awake in this version. In the books, Grover is passed out, and so he can't do anything. And so Sally is fine, I'll run with you because you want me to run with you, but she has the feeling that she's not going to be able to make it anyway. Everyone's asleep. It's in the middle of the night. How is she going to make it over? Percy doesn't know how to invite her in, but they could have invited her in this version, which makes it frustrating. Especially because I don't know why they left Grover awake. Besides him being, hard to carry, or, maybe because they wanted to put the exposition there so badly, and him being passed out would have made it awkward. But I don't know, that specific section of the episode felt a little awkward. Let's go to the rest of episode 1, though, because despite making a bunch of changes, I think most of them worked out pretty well. Them having Percy get immediately expelled after the Metropolitan Museum of Art fiasco. Instead of him getting expelled later into the month and then staying at the school until the end of the school year. Now, the reason they did that in the books was for timing, right? They wanted them not to have a bunch of time for the actual quest, and they wanted them to start at the beginning of the summer. But 2 things that make this work. 1, they could use a little bit more time. They could make it work. But also, most schools don't, at least for me, when I was in school, I didn't finish until like the 15th. And he's supposed to spend like a week at camp before he's told about the quest, at least. And so him being kicked out early just gives him time to be at camp. Now, why everybody else is already at camp instead of still finishing their school year, I don't know. But we could just say that they had early years that ended, and some of them stay there all year. And so that could work out. And so that was fine. And I liked all the stuff for for Yancey Academy. I will say that I never noticed Rick's cameo until I saw it on the internet. So that was cute, but I did not notice. Yeah, Grover kind of from Percy's point of view, like stabbing him in the back and getting him expelled works well because, of course, from Grover's point of view, this is the only way to help Percy. Whereas from Percy's point of view, this makes him like less of a friend. And so it does start a good dynamic with Grover and Percy that I think will work out well with the main prophecy. Because, you know, the prophecy says that a friend is going to betray him. And in the books, he has reason to think that, like, Annabeth might, but they're not even real friends yet, right? Whereas Grover has been his friend for, like, a year. And Percy never really has reasons in the book to not trust him. So this, I think, is a good way of Percy having a reason why he might not trust Grover in this scenario, while Grover has been working tirelessly for Percy to trust him. So that's good. Back in episode 1, other things that changed. Gabe isn't a cartoonish stereotype, but I don't hate him yet. And so I want to make sure that they figure out a way to still have, like, the Gabe, like, storyline happen without, like, clearly they're doing Gabe in a different way. He's not some Italian stereotype that's, like, really demeaning. I am not Italian, so I'm not going to speak more on how it is a stereotype or not. I'm sure there are other people who already have. I know that I didn't really think about it that way until other people told me that they thought it was rude. But either way, whether it's a stereotype or not, the way Gabe was wrote in the books, while funny, he didn't feel like a real person. And so I feel like when making this adaptation, they wanted to make him a little bit more real. And I think that they also wanted his and Sally's relationship to be realer. Because in the book, Sally marries Gabe because he smells bad. And so he can cover up Percy's demigod smell. And that's funny, and I will always appreciate that. But I think maybe for the TV show, they're going to have it that Gabe and Sally got married because they actually liked each other. And then Gabe ended up being a bad husband because, you know, that happens all the time. And I think that maybe he'll be abusive and that will be the thing that, like, breaks the camel's back. But also it could just be an unhealthy relationship that started from a place that was better. Because they gave Gabe and Sally some, like, actual chemistry. And I think that it would be an interesting point of view to actually see this relationship from a more realistic point of view. Even though Percy Jackson is known for being magical and crazy, I think having this particular relationship feel real is a good idea. I think those are the main things from episode 1. I do miss the Fates. I think that it would have been cool to see them. Maybe we'll see them somewhere else in the season, but it would have been cool. I am a little disappointed in how they changed the things that happened in Percy's past that hinted towards him being different. Because while him seeing monsters is cool, I really liked when he, strangled a snake in kindergarten. And him, exploding a cannon at a field trip. These were, peak comedy, and I was hoping to see them, in real life. Also, I am a little sad that Gabe doesn't own a, was it, electronics, store or something? Furniture? I can't remember. But, I'm sad that he doesn't have that, because now, what phone number is Percy gonna sarcastically tell everybody to call when he's saying thank you for being saved on the news? Because, that's one of my favorite parts of the books, and I would just love it. It would be amazing, and I don't think it's gonna happen in the same way now. So I hope they replace it with something better. Because clearly Gabe doesn't own a store, manage a store for them to call. Episode 2. So, episode 2 was really interesting. I thought that starting off from, first scene, I think that Annabeth saying that you drool in your sleep was said weird. It was a little creepy. And it's always been funny the way that I've read it in my head. And so, I don't know, I kind of wish that they'd had her say it differently. And maybe she did say it differently and they chose that one. But it was a weird choice, I think. But, I think that's my only real negative from the first one. From the second episode. So, the other thing is that I wish that they had focused more on Grover's backstory and why he does what he does, because none of the adaptions have talked about Grover wanting to be a seeker. And I think that him having plans and hopes for the future adds a lot to his character, and I don't want them to forget about it like all the other adaptions have, because I want Grover to be more than the best friend character. I want him to have his own character. But at the same time, I think that what they did worked here, as long as they add hints towards the seeker thing in later episodes, or at very least do a good job explaining it in season 2. And what they replaced it with makes sense. So I think that in this episode, they replaced a lot of Grover stuff with Luke. Sometimes Luke actually just was there in your replace of Grover and scenes. And I think it made sense. Because for one of the last scenes of the show to work, Luke and Percy need to be close. And while they're close-ish in the books, I think that putting an emphasis on his relationship with Percy is really important. Because it gives this, idea that, Luke is becoming an older brother figure to Percy, and they're getting close, and he'll always have Luke to talk to. And so I think that'll make the end of the show hit harder. And so I think that that's a good reason to backpedal on Grover a little bit for this episode. He's going to be in the rest of the episodes. They can bring this up at any time. And there's already a lot of exposition in this episode, so maybe they want to move it to an episode that has less exposition, so that it doesn't feel like we have one episode that is just piled on with exposition. And I do like Grover, trying to figure out if he should obey Mr. D or help Percy, because I think that has a lot to do with his character in the books, too. He decides to stop, obeying everything that the people in charge of him tell him to do, and make the decisions that feel right to him in the books. And I think that this is a good hint at who he'll become in the future. So that's good. Annabeth is great. You know, outside of that one, like, weird, like, said line at the beginning, I really liked how focused she was on figuring out what's going on with Percy and how excited she is for it to work. And so she's putting Percy in dangerous situations because she knows that it'll help her in the long run. And she's so focused on her goals that maybe she's not quite thinking about Percy at the moment and how he feels about it, which will hopefully add some good drama for the rest of the season. And I loved Luke. He was great. Clarice was terrifying, which was fantastic. She did a great job. Like, props. That scream, oh my gosh. And I was really happy that they had her electric spear in there and that he broke it, and it was great. Dionysus was amazing, and I do like that while the joke was hilarious that he had with Percy, right? It was so funny. Where he said he was his father. I saw an amazing Star Wars meme based on that. But what I really liked thinking about it, like, later on, was that it was a way of hinting at the fact that a god could not have stolen the lightning bolt before he actually gets the quest. Because, of course, he's trying to convince Percy to get him alcohol because he can't get it himself. And while that's not something that ever happened in the books, I thought it was a funny way of, like, hinting towards a very important rule of the universe without it just being outright said immediately. Like, he's told in that scene that's how it works. But it's not said in relation to the quest. So they kind of remove that from being, like, a brand new rule that you're learning in the middle of all this exposition later on. Because I think we're going to get some heavy exposition about the quest in episode 3. Which is another reason I think they're doing a good job spacing exposition out for the most part. And then Chiron was great. The actor's doing great. I really like how tall he looks next to little Percy. Because, I don't know, in my head I never picture him being that tall, but hearses are really tall. And then this is like a whole man's body on top of a hearse. So of course he's gonna be tall. Oh, I wish that the flags, like, magically changed like they did in the books. But they didn't, and that's fine. But it would have been cool. I liked the use of the blue food and the, like, sacrificing, and how if you sacrifice something that you really love into the fire, that the gods will listen. And so he chose the blue food, and then he talked to his mom instead of to Poseidon. That was so sweet. Because he was told that he'd be able to talk to his parents if he sacrificed. And so, despite the fact that they clearly meant his godly parent, he decided to talk to his mom. That was so sweet. That was such a cute change. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, the things that he did during the, while he was waiting during Capture the Flag were very funny, too. Exactly the type of things that I would have been doing if I was left alone in the woods for, like, an hour. So, it was pretty accurate. What else? Oh, the Dryad looked gorgeous. I don't know who it was supposed to be. I was thinking, like, maybe it was Grover's mother, but maybe it's just, like, an elder Dryad that, like, guards the gate to the Council of Cloven Elders. And it was also cool that Grover was the one that, like, learned that Sally wasn't dead first. That showed that he was really taking initiative into finding things, instead of him either already knowing things for other reasons, or, like, not knowing information and not, like... I don't know if he often goes to find information that's not connected to himself in the books. And so it was nice to see him, like, taking initiative to help his friend out. Oh, I appreciated that they put him on the floor in, they put Percy on the floor in a sleeping bag in the Hermes cabin. But I would have liked the cabin floor to be covered in sleeping bags like it was in the book, because it kind of just like looks weird that he's on the floor in a sleeping bag. Whereas it definitely gave a vibe that they were overcrowded in the books with all the sleeping bags on the floor. And I think that will help Luke's case in the future. Whereas it's like, oh, they had one too many people in there, you know? But yeah, overall, the episode was really good. Both episodes were really good. And I'm just really happy that we're getting this adaptation. I've been waiting for 15 years because, you know, the books are amazing. The movies didn't really try to adapt them the way that we wanted. And the musical's great. But we can't get sequels from the musical. And, you know, they can only do so much in such a short period of time. And so it's just really nice to get what feels like a loved adaptation. Like the people who made it really cared about what they were doing, and that they're gonna finally give us and everyone who read the books who's older than us and who are younger than us, and they're giving us like a chance to see our characters in a live adaptation. This is the only way I'm gonna be able to share like the actual story of Percy Jackson with like my mom, because she doesn't read a lot, and for years I've been trying to get her to read the books so that we could talk about it. My dad finally read the books, which is amazing, but sometimes it's hard to talk to people about things that you love so much when they are not willing to connect with you in the same medium. But my mom loves watching TV with us, and this is just so exciting. Now, does it sound like my dad and I are speaking a different language? Yes, it does sometimes. But now she understands blue food a little better, because she was getting a little weirded out by the fact that we were making blue sugar cookies for the premiere. So, you know, but I'm just really excited. And if you want any more from me, I'm going to keep making these reviews, and I'm also working on a big project that'll hopefully be done by the end of the season. I'm very excited about it. And so if you want any more of this content, you can subscribe. No one really has yet, but that's okay. I'm just here to share what I love. So I'll hopefully see you later.